And so the development manager or the technical program manager is responsible for ensuring delivery, but they also need to have a lot of technical knowledge. So independent of whether you're on the individual contributor track or the management track, you still need to have a basic level of technical knowledge. Whereas the level of technical proficiency that you need to be a project manager is much lower in many organizations. So, any questions on anything so far? So that's kind of a 50,000-foot broad brush view on some of the career options that exist from a software engineering perspective. So let's talk a little bit about the professional software engineering programs that we have at Carnegie Mellon and SSN. So at Carnegie Mellon, the software engineering programs are the oldest professional master's programs that we have. So we started the Masters in Software Engineering something like 27 years ago, more or less. And so I'm going to talk a little bit about the philosophy, the structure of the program, the content, and then talk about the graduates and statistics and so forth. So what do we mean by a professional program? So often in the United States, if you look at master's programs, they have a course component and a research component. So you'll do a thesis. It's essentially a bridge degree between an undergraduate and a PhD. So this is your opportunity to decide, do you want to do research as a career, do you want to continue on to get a PhD, or do you want to go work in industry? For a professional program, that's not the goal. The goal is explicitly to produce practitioners. And so there's no research component in the professional program. Instead, we adopt a learn-by-doing approach. And so the way that's realized is about a third of the education is a project that a team of students will do for an external sponsor, so for an industrial sponsor. And the idea is that this project component is an opportunity to apply the concepts that you're learning in your core courses in a realistic setting, but a safe setting where you can get some feedback and you can make mistakes without such drastic consequences, and you can adjust the way you're applying these concepts and so forth, so that when you graduate, you're in a much better position to hit the ground running. And so that your productivity will tend to increase. The the time that it takes in order to do things like learn commercial production practices and so forth is much lower.
The 18 months is the course time for the MS program in US universities, generally, right? And this is
well, so usually
usually for any faculty, any other thing, MS program is generally for 18 months. Right?
18 months is a strange number.
16
months or so. It's anywhere from 1 to 2 years for a master's program typically in the US.
Okay, because this is for generally you say it is for 12 months. So is it considered as equivalent to any MS degree in US universities, or is it something special?
It is an MS degree. So the master's program, it's a master's in science, in software engineering. So depending on the university, and we are accredited by Middle States. So this is one of the recognized accreditation bodies. It's a master's program, and if you look from one university to another, you'll find that master's programs range from 1 year to 2 years typically. Often if it's longer, but what you really want to look at not so much is calendar duration, but you look at the number of credit hours. And so this is a 3-semester program. So it's 12 contiguous months. There's no summers off. Often you'll have master's programs that will have a summer off, and maybe you go do an internship or something.
Once a student joins this program, after the first 2 semesters in SSN, is there any criteria to move to US, or it is almost automatic?
So it's the same criteria that we would have for continuing throughout the master's program. So what we do in our master's program is we have a review twice a semester for all students. So this is similar to what you would see in a PhD program where we have a Black Friday review. And so we consider the academic progress of every student. If they're not making sufficient academic progress, then they can go on probation and they could potentially be expelled from the program. And so from our perspective, there's really no distinction between their time at SSN and their time in Pittsburgh other than the geographic location. So we review academic progress for all of the students across the program. As long as they're making sufficient academic progress, then they will continue at Carnegie Mellon.
And then the application progress.
I'm gonna let Dr. Arwal talk more about the logistics and the timing. I'm not. So the application is open now, I think, right?
Yeah. No.
And then what's the cutoff? Is sometime in March, maybe, or something like
Yeah,
that?
March. That is when you take the video conference based interview.
Okay.
So little before that we close.
So somebody tells me where and when to show up, and I show up, and I don't pay much attention to the dates or really know what the dates are other than that. So yeah, I guess the applications are open now, and they close in, when do they close, in March?
Yeah,
Or
February.
February. They close in February.
One clarification was, you said that GRE scores are not required.
No, GRE scores are required. I just can't give you a cutoff saying that above this is acceptable, below this is not.
The cutoff is both for the direct entry on CMU and also as.
It's the same. So we have the same admissions committee. We have the same criteria for admissions.
Both that and split.
I mean, it's a different pool of applicants, so I can't say it's 100%. You know, because when we do admissions, we consider that in the context of the applicant pool. So you have a different applicant pool, but the criteria is the same.
And all the students eligible for any scholarship from various.
So I'll say there are some scholarships that are available, but fundamentally, it's pretty rare, and it's only after these are merit-based sort of scholarships that so these are kind of awards that you'll get, and so for all intents and purposes, no. Yeah.
Regarding the fee structure and living expense over there, can you put some numbers over it?
Dr. Albaugh can talk more about the tuition. In terms of living expenses, I don't know, so maybe something like $1,000 a month is
in US.
In the U.S. So keep in mind that you have 2 semesters of residency here, and so you would know better than I what the living expenses are here, and then 2 semesters in the U.S. And I would say Pittsburgh is a fairly inexpensive city by U.S. standards, and so I would say something like $1,000 a month is probably kind of a ballpark for food and housing and so forth. But one thing that you are going to need to outfit yourself with cold weather gear. So for many people coming from Chennai, it'll be the first real winter that you've experienced, and so you'll have to buy hat and gloves and coat. So factor that in somewhere. Yeah.
Who decides the admission process here? Or the SSN decides the candidate's admission, or the CM?
So there's a pre-screen done here. So SSN will down select from the initial candidates, but the final selection is done by Carnegie Mellon admissions committee. And so we look at the admissions packet, and then we have a Skype interview for to make the final decisions.
You have made any collaborative program, the stakeholders are any collaborative programs, the real stakeholders are the students. So let us see a small video how students as stakeholders get benefited out of what is the admission process or say expenditure in SSN vis-a-vis in CM. Okay. Yeah. So let's have the video.
Creating a one-of-its-kind collaborative master's degree program, the Carnegie Mellon SSN SASE program, designed by CMU's Institute for Software Research. This program offers to its students an experience from both academic and industrial perspectives. With the first 10 months of the program based in SSN, students gain a solid foundation through the completion of 5 core courses under the auspices of SSN faculty associated with the MSc program of CMU. Sprawling majestically over 250 acres, the SSN campus, with its state-of-the-art infrastructure and conducive ambience, provides an excellent learning environment for its students.
I passed out in 2016 from information technology. I worked for a year in Cognizant, and then I joined this course. So currently we are in the last semester in this course. And
yeah, hi. I did my bachelor's in information technology. Then I had almost 4 years of experience in TCS, after which I've joined this course in 2017 batch. So being experienced for almost 4 years, we do a lot of practices in the domain or in the industry, and most of the cases we do not know why we are doing certain processes in the industry. This course actually helps you map back what you're doing and why you're doing it, and it also tells you what kind of work needs to be done, and it actually changes the way you think, and it helps you in rediscovering yourself.
yes, sir.
Instead of writing examination, you are doing project.
We do have exams as well. We have in the first semester we have assignments, and in the second semester we are having exams. So the practicum extends from the first semester until April.
So you have courses and projects in parallel. So in the courses, some courses might have exams, others might have a project component in the course, but then in parallel to that, you're doing the practicum project for your external sponsor.
It goes.
How you are evaluated? That is assignments how? Your assignments how?
So,
Is it a credit-based system?
yes, it's a credit-based system. I think the professors would tell you how the courses are evaluated.
So your question is, how is the project evaluated, or how are you evaluated in your courses?
Courses.
That was the question? Courses, it's going to depend on the specific course. So fewer of these courses are exam-based. There's what the models course has an exam.
Analysis of artifacts.
Analysis has exams. So there's a couple of exams, but for example, in the architecture course, there are a number of assignments that you do in the architecture course, and then your final project for the architecture course is actually an architecture for the practicum project. So you're using your external project as a context to apply the concepts that you've learned. And so for the architecture course, there's no exam, but the evaluation criteria are different from one course to another, just like any other courses that you'd have in the university.
Yeah. And I would like to add one more thing. Unlike typical university exam, like what Kavya said, that in the university you are taught something and you are supposed to remember and answer the question at the end of exam or semester. Unlike that, here it's a continuous ongoing evaluation system. Like the students for every course, for example, say Professor Matthew Bass mentioned the software architecture course. I would like to mention another course like managing software development, which is, you can say, more related to managing the projects for software development. So there the students there are reading questions. That is, it is not enough that someone was asking how tough it is and all that. The major difference between the typical university, like what Kavya said, like Anna University, vis-a-vis this one is, here we are taking the lectures, but the students are expected, there is